I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Wednesday, March the 29th, brought to you in part by Witex Corporation. Witex provides excellence in animal health, including but not limited to all American ID tags of any kind for all classes of livestock. For more information, go to y-tex.com. Sell at auction. Traditionally and historically, people take cattle to the auction. Well, they take cattle to auction all the time, but especially when the market's really bad and when the market's really good. Because there's no way to get any kind of price discovery in the country or through some kind of a direct trade if you don't have a little bit of excitement in there. And we don't know how bad the market is when it's really bad. We don't know how good the market is when it's really good. You have to go to an auction to find that out. That's called transparency. So we're going to do that. People are going to be able to see what that market is. Then they'll know what the market is for their cattle. But likely they're not going to sell their cattle in the country or without some type of an auction setting. Because they're afraid they're not going to get their price. Well, the market is really good right now, and it's time to bring your cattle to auction. And I don't care if it's in a brick and mortar sale barn, which is what I traditionally support and probably support more than anybody you'll find. But even in a video auction, even in a timed auction, any kind of an auction setting, you have to have speed, excitement, and confusion. You have to have that before you're going to get a buyer to give more than what he had planned on giving whenever he arrived at the auction or when he started watching the auction. But we are definitely seeing that now. We haven't seen a lick of fat cattle trade so far this week, which is good. But if you remember last week, we did most all of our trading on Wednesday and some on Tuesday. Yes, the packers are going to be wanting cattle here earlier this week and midweek especially, but nobody's going to sell them because the board's up. There's no basis there on the market that they were giving before. And so now we look at the auctions for some price discovery. Best place to see on fat cattle price discovery at auction is Stockman's Livestock Market in Yankton, South Dakota, that they have every Tuesday. They had a big sale on Tuesday. 2,200 head, had 1,800 head in overnight, so with the better weigh-ups, but the market was really good. I'll give you a complete rundown here when we get to the fat cattle section of the report. But I have to tell you that Gary Marks that goes to that sale, he's a retired fat cattle buyer. He knows what good fat cattle are supposed to look like. He knows what they'll grade. He knows how they'll dress. He knows how they'll yield. And if he's able to go to the sale, he gives me a little insight on that, and it's way better than any market reporter you could get to give that to you. But he was telling me there at Yankton, South Dakota, their fat cattle auction on Tuesday, there were several groups of cattle, and they don't just sell small groups, they sell load lots and half load lots and things like that all day long. He was telling me there's several groups of cattle that come through there, and for what they were bringing, live price on the hoof in the ring, the dress price on them would be as much as $280. So when our dress market in the country, the best we've really seen is $265. Well, you got to imagine that that's a pretty good deal. Yeah, you might have a little bit of freight to get them there, but if you're going to get a dress market, you got to deliver the cattle anyway. Might be a little bit of commission involved, but when it helps the market get going, who really cares about a little bit of commission there, guys? And if you're selling in some kind of a cooperative marketing group on a direct basis, you're going to have to pay a little commission anyways. But when you're selling cattle like that, you got to get some competition in there, guys. That's what it's all about, is competition. Why do the packers want to buy so many cattle on some type of a formula contract arrangement? Because they won't have to go in there and compete for the cattle. You promise all your cattle to one packer, then they'll give you one of those deals. Otherwise, they don't really want to do it. They just assume nobody sells their cattle in a negotiated manner, because then after that, then there's no price discovery. Then they can back that market up as far as they want to go after it's done. If you don't believe that, go back here 25 years and check out the hog market for your independent hog feeders. But they had cattle in Yankton from Parsons, Kansas. They feed cattle in Parsons, Kansas. The guys in Kansas that have the really good cattle haven't been being paid for them. Their cattle are grading just as well as the Northern Plains cattle, and they're not getting a market for it. Last week it was 163. Had somebody send cattle into Parsons, Kansas, send a shipment in there. Blacks and Charolais, they were heavy, weighed 1,590 pounds. Really good cattle. They bring 175 and a quarter. I think you could probably send them up there and pay the commission for that, guys. And especially when you're helping, find the market there, and you're just helping trade in that competitive manner. It's so good. Beaver County Stockyards, they had a good sale on Tuesday, and I told you about what they were going to have in their offering on our last visit, because they typically sponsor our Tuesday visits there. But, and you're going to say, well, this is a small deal, but I told you they were going to have some real peewee little calves, little 2 and 3 weight calves that were hard and weaned. Where are you going to find them, guys? Everybody wants them. You basically can't give too much for them. But at Beaver County Stockyards, they sold them on Tuesday. They had one group in there. It was 18 head. I realize that's not a big deal, but it was big enough that people aren't going to push it just for a market report or something to give out on the radio. But they sell 18 of those little black steers. They weigh 309 and bring 306 a pound. Okay, you take them little calves out there, and I'm sure they weren't the most beautiful things in the world because they were hard and weaned and that small. You ask a buyer to come out to your pens and you ask him $945 a head for them calves. And he's going to look down at them and say, are you crazy? There's no way they're going to even get anywhere close to that. You can only get that at an auction, guys. And here at DV Auction, we are cattle auction supporters. Of course, that's our business, and I'm the biggest promoter and lover of cattle auctions you'll ever find anywhere. But we've got to keep the auction setting in this cattle market, and I mean especially at the fat cattle end, especially on yearlings too. I know a lot of you guys put your loads of yearlings together in the country. Get them in some kind of an auction setting, guys. And on calves, you're always going to get calves in the sale barn, because calves need to be sized and sexed, and that's not going to happen out in the country as often. But let's talk about your board on Tuesday. April live cattle futures up a nickel at 164.95. Your June board fats up 2 cents at 158.90. Your back months were unchanged to up 45 cents, so still supportive after the big Monday that we had. But feeder cattle for March were down 62, took some of that big gain back, but that's to be expected, 190, 172. April was down 40 cents at 197.22. Back months on feeder cattle futures down 57 to up as much as 12 cents there. Your May corn futures were down a penny at 6.47 and a quarter cent a bushel. December new crop up 2.5 cents a bushel at 5.72 and a quarter. May soybeans up 25.5 cents. You remember how much they fell out of bed last week. They've gained most all that back. But ending the day, regular trading of May beans at 14.67 and 3/4 cent a bushel. Like I said, no direct fat cattle trade to speak of at all here early part of the week. But at Stockman's Livestock Market in Yankton, like I said earlier, had 2,200 head of fat cattle. The market was roughly $2.50 to as much as $8 higher than last week. Your conventional cattle, and notedly, your buyers were not as particular as to whether the cattle were in a program, whether they were drug-free or non-implanted. They just wanted the cattle, and they wanted the quality, wanted the clean cattle, of course. But conventional type cattle sold, and that's just nuts and bolts there, guys. But good fat cattle selling from 166 to 175.75. And then we had our non-implanted or drug-free cattle there up to 176.50. My goodness. And you're thinking, well, they've got majors in there bidding. Are they the ones doing that? And the majors were bottom feeders at the sale on Tuesday. They were buying cattle that weren't as attractive, didn't have the bells and whistles, maybe weren't as clean, because they didn't want to get up there and compete for those best cattle. Because why? Because it makes the market go higher, and then they would be more susceptible to having to raise the market on their direct trade later in the week. So they were bottom feeders, but you just can't beat an auction, guys. Box beef cutout values. Choice ended on Tuesday afternoon at 280.63 and selects at 270.36. Your slaughter running at a pretty good clip, 252,000 through the first 2 days of the week. Exactly the same as last week, but remember, it turns out to be disappointing because we have no Saturday kill at all. But it was 7,000 head better than the same week a year ago. Talk about what else is going on. Performance Livestock Analytics. You got to get this software, guys. You can manage your feedlot operation anytime, anywhere with Performance Beef. So to get more information on that, go to performancelivestockanalytics.com. Talk about your feeder cattle market. Your real-time index on DV auction, based on that 800-pound steer, it runs from 7 to 899 pounds, just like your CME Cash Feeder Cattle Index, but it's current, guys. It's as quick, it's as fast as you can refresh your computer. And on Tuesday evening, sitting at 189.53. That was up another 11 cents. A sale that you don't want to miss. It's going to be on DV auction on Thursday at 2 o'clock Central, but it's going to be happening on the Eastern time zone, is Elite Livestock Sales. That's the bunch out there from Montgomery Stockyards that ended up closing the stockyards there, but they're continuing to market cattle in the Southeast. Jerry Etheridge, Daryl Stokes, the whole team right there. My buddy Chuck Bradley, world champion livestock auctioneer, Wesley Grantham, just a really good team of guys there. And if you're in the Southeast, you know those guys, you trust those guys. They're going to be having a special video sale, Gulf Coast grass time sale. And it's going to be on Marianna, Florida, is where it's actually going to be happening from. They're going out there to try to get some more people interested in consigning and buying cattle out there. But you talk about loads of backgrounded yearlings, backgrounded on ryegrass primarily, but they're going to be green. They're going to be hard yearlings. Yes, they are going to have an origin from the Southeast, but you don't have to worry about the heat. Or about the cold weather. You're feeding those cattle in warm weather. They're going to stand it a lot better than the native cattle through the Midwest. Whenever they get into the heavier weights, that really affects them with that heat. So you need to get on to Elite Livestock Sale, and that's on dvauction.com on Thursday at 2 o'clock Central. Talk about your big sales on Tuesday. Ozarks Regional Stockyard with West Plains, Missouri. They got 2,400 head through the ring, had their own in-house video through DV Auction, another nearly 800 head through there. It's amazing how they can have one of those every single week. Feeders in West Plains sell $2 to $4 higher. Calves sell $3 to $6 higher. Denny Rezac Livestock Commission in St. Mary's, Kansas had a good sale on Tuesday. They sell a load, 62 head of steers, weight 887. Just about say 900 pounds at 189.85 right there in St. Mary's, Kansas. Awfully good sale for them and their DV auction broadcast customers too. Let's talk about your Zoetta stick out sale of the day. Kimball Livestock Exchange in Kimball, South Dakota. About 4,000 head of feeder cattle went through the ring there. Of course, they're not reported anywhere but here unless they pay for it. But look at this automated market report through Cattle Market Central. Look at your best tested weights, and you can even see the trends on the weighted average from last week. That 328 head of 7-weight steers averaged 744, weighted average price 206.27, roughly $5 higher than last week. 1,186 head of 8-weight feeder steers in Kimball, South Dakota. They averaged on the light side 835 with a weighted average price of 196.10, up about $4.50 from last week. Pretty good market test there, guys, in the Northern Plains. How about 376 head of 9-weight steers in Kimball, average 947, weighted average price 182.35. Weighted average price there was a couple bucks lower than last week. Your heifers, 649 head of 7-weight heifers, average 747. Weighted average price 185.75. That was up $8 from last week. And 654 head of 8-weight feeder heifers in Kimball, South Dakota had an average weight of 840 pounds. Weighted average price 176.85, about $1 better than what they had last week on similar weighted cattle. Give you some individual quotes. How about 4 state stockyards? Exeter, Missouri. They're a DV auction broadcaster too, in extreme southwest Missouri there, guys. Very close to Oklahoma and Arkansas. They sell 62 head, 530-pound steer calves at $249.25 on Tuesday. Big time quote on some feeder heifers. Lolly Brothers Livestock Market in Macon, Missouri. Another DV auction broadcaster from a long time way back. They have horse sales there. They have the exotic sales there. They do an excellent job with top quality feeder cattle there in north central Missouri. They sell 2 loads, 158 head of 662-pound feeder heifers, mostly black, but they were scattered with a few colors in there. 662-pound heifers, 2 loads of them bring 201.10. Wow. How about the top quote that I saw anywhere on Tuesday? Your Macrocin, no BS, top quote for the day. Indeed, come out of Kimball Livestock Exchange, which was our Zoetta stickout sale. They sell 83 head of 799-pound steers, 800 pounds, at $208. And that's your feeder flash for Wednesday.